everyone, we will announce the world's one and only real-time chart, HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album starting now. This is your host, Joe, and if you're curious about K-pop album sales, please subscribe to the channel and also like this video. We'll take a look at the weekly physical album charts rankings of the 5th week of May. Starting with the 10th place. 10th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart, 5th week of May was taken by Ken of VIX. His album, Greeting, was sold 4,396 copies in the last week. As you know, the title track is called Just For A Moment, and his album was released last week, and it's been a week since its release, and the album recorded the initial total sales was the first week sales of 8,991 copies total. And he just wrapped up his promotion of the album last week. It lasted about a week. And we talked about this album a little bit last week and how it's sort of a cassette song that reminisces about the love that was, I guess, his at one point. And that was in the 10th place, Ken's solo album, Greeting, that was sold 4,396 copies in the last week. Moving on to the 9th place. 9th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by ONEUS. ONEUS's album, In Its Time, was sold 7,829 copies in the last week. And as you know, the title track of the song is a song written easily, and it has been a while since this album was released, but I believe the popularity of ONEUS itself has really gone up after their appearance on Road to Kingdom. And if you're following the show, you've probably noticed that they have placed the 7th, which is like a very low rank on the show, but recently climbed up the ladder and placed 2nd in the competition. Great relief to the Two Moons, the fans, and continuously doing well. So looking forward to see them continuously on the show. And that was in the 9th place, ONEUS. Their album, In Its Time, that was sold 7,829 copies in the last week. Moving on to the 8th place. 8th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by The Boys. Their album, Reveal, I believe that was the first studio album, was sold 10,377 copies in the last week. And since we talked about Road to Kingdom, The Boys is one of the other groups that are appearing on the show as well. And like we said previously, how ONEUS did very well on the show, needless to say, The Boys is doing very well as well. They placed basically the first among all the groups for 3 times in a row now, scoring the perfect score and moving on to their next stage as well in a very good pace. So looking forward to see their stages as well on Road to Kingdom in the coming weeks. And that was The Boys. In the 8th place, Reveal, that was sold 10,377 copies in the last week. This weekly physical album chart is presented by HANTEO Chart, the world's one and only real-time chart. And if you're enjoying this broadcast and also love to learn about K-pop album sales and other news, please subscribe to the channel and also like this video. Moving on to the 7th place. 7th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by Tomorrow by Together. Their album, The Dream Chapter Eternity, was sold 12,976 copies in the last week. So they have placed 2 music show wins in the past week from the show and also Show Champ. And like we talked about this album in the previous week, the title track is called Can't You See Me, and sort of like the darker side of Tomorrow by Together that they've never shown before. So I believe the fans are enjoying the stage very much as well. Probably the strongest performance on stage so far, and it's probably gonna do also well in the next week. So looking forward to talk about them next week as well. And that was in the 7th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May, Tomorrow by Together, their album, The Dream Chapter Eternity, that was sold 12,976 copies in the last week. Moving on to the 6th place. 6th place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by Moonbyul of Mamamoo. Her new album, Moon, the repackaged album, was sold 24,958 copies in the last week. And this album was released on the 29th of May, and the title track is called Absence. And I believe there's no music video per se, but there is a performance video, which I think really highlights the mood of the song, which is very sentimental and emotional as well. It sort of crisscrosses the colorful scenes as well as the black and white scene, and the performance itself is really sad as well. And yeah, so I believe this is sort of like a single album, so it has the intro track and the Absence track itself, and also the instrumental track. And along with the release of this album, Moonbyul has held an online solo concert called Moon. And she's also uploading a lot of fun videos online as well, so that the fans can enjoy her new album as well as her promotions online during this time. And that was in the sixth place. Moonbyul, her album Moon, the repackaged album that was sold 24,958 copies in the last week. We're halfway through this weekly physical album chart announcement, and as you know, this weekly physical album chart result is presented by HANTEO Charts, the world's one and only real-time music chart. And this weekly chart result is counting all the album sales all across the world. So if you have purchased an album last week to support your favorite artist, that purchase has counted towards this week's chart result as well. Moving on to the fifth place. Fifth place of HANTEO Charts weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by NCT 127. Their album, NCT 127 Neozone, the final round, was sold 28,761 copies in the last week. And if you have watched this broadcast last week, as you know, they have placed first in last week's weekly physical album chart, and they're still doing well on the weekly chart as well, placing 5th. And they have also won several music shows last week, actually 3, M Countdown, Music Bank, and also Music Core. So doing very well with their title track of this album, and continuing to probably do well next week. So looking forward to talk about them next week as well. And that was in the 5th place of HANTEO Charts weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May. NCT 127, their album NCT 127 Neozone, the final round, that was sold to 28,761 copies in the last week. Okay, so moving on to the 4th place. So there are a lot of new albums released last week, if you have noticed, and the albums coming up are all new releases of last week. Very exciting. So moving on to the 4th place of HANTEO Charts weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by Park Ji-hoon. His album, solo mini album, the W, was sold 68,700 copies in the last week. This album was released on the 26th of May, and the title track is called Wing. Probably if you are a long live fan of Park Ji-hoon, you probably know that his nickname, part of it, is Wink and also Wing, and I think it's a very good tribute to that nickname as well. And if you gave a listen to the song, it's a very catchy song, and the music video itself is very colorful, and you can definitely see how more mature that Ji-hoon got over the years, and the song itself has a very mature feel to it as well. And I think it's a very good song for like driving, especially the summer weather, because it has a very powerful beat as well. So if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. And that was in the 4th place of HANTEO Charts weekly physical album chart, 5th week of May. Park Ji-hoon's album, The W, was sold 68,700 copies in the last week. Moving on to the 3rd place. 3rd place of HANTEO Charts weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by Kim Woo-seok. His first solo album, First Desire, Greed, was sold 86,208 copies in the last week. So I believe this album was released on the Monday of last week, which automatically makes this weekly physical album chart's weekly sales to be equal as his initial Chodong sales record, which is also 86,208 copies. And the title track is called Red Moon in English, and it is, needless to say, a very sexy song, and especially compared to other K-pop songs that are released, just in general this year or around this time, it has a slower tempo, which goes really well with the overall atmosphere of the song. And I think every part of this song, performance, like outfits and accessories that he's wearing really talks to this, sexy concept that he's trying to emphasize. So definitely give it a listen and support. And that was in the third place, Kim Woo-seok's First Desire Greed album that was sold 86,208 copies in the last week. Okay, so we're only left with 2 albums of this week, top 2 albums. And as you know, this weekly physical album chart result is brought to you by HANTEO Chart, the world's one and only real-time chart. And if you love K-pop news in general and also enjoying this broadcast, please subscribe to the channel and also like this video. Okay, so second place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May was taken by Monsta X. Their new album, Fantasia X, was sold, 111,520 copies in the last week. Whenever it jumps to the 6th digit, I have a little hard time reading those. But as you know, the title track is called Fantasia. It's hard to say in English as well, Fantasia. And the album was released on the 26th of May. And this is their comeback in Korea after such a long time because they have promoted overseas in Japan as well as in the States as well. So this is their comeback after 7 months. The album really represents the shining moments of Monsta X. So if you have noticed, the overall concept and the album cover as well is very gold and black. The music video as well, which really speaks to the message, trying to capture the highest and shiniest moment of Monsta X. And I think the song obviously has that Monsta X feel, especially for the Korean release as well. But very artistic too. If you watch the music video, it has like a modern dance company in the background, which I think was a really nice touch as well. And also did very well in the weekly music physical album chart as well. And yeah, so very much looking forward to the coming promotions with this album. And that was in the second place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May. Monsta X, their album Fantasia X, was sold 111,520 copies in the last week. Okay, so only left with the very top album of this week, and that was taken by Baekhyun of EXO. His solo album, Delight, was sold 704,527 copies in the last week. And yeah, so this album was also released on the 25th of May, and it became a huge sensation because on the very first day of its release, it became a 500,000 seller with the album sales of more than 620,000 copies. And it definitely broke the record that was existing for the solo artist album in K-pop history. So it's a I think, the album sales are only gonna go up as the time goes by. And yeah, at least for this week, it recorded the album sales of more than 700,000 copies. And the title track is called Candy, and I think it's a very, retro hit feel as far as the music video goes, but the song itself has a very soft R&B touch to it, which I think the genre that Baekhyun can pull off the best. And the song itself, the lyrics, is kind of fun actually because it compares different candy flavors to the various charms that Baekhyun has. So if you're a fan of Baekhyun, you would definitely agree to the lyrics of the song. And yeah, and there are a lot of really cool R&B type of songs in the album as well. So definitely check it out and support. And that was in the first place of HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart of 5th week of May. Baekhyun's Delight that was sold 704,527 copies in the last week. So that was everybody on HANTEO Chart's weekly physical album chart, top 10 of 5th week of May. Congratulations to everyone. And if you're curious about how many new albums that will be released that would go up to the weekly physical album charts next week, check out our app called WhosFan. It's available on both Android and iOS. Download the app to check the real-time chart as well as the weekly album chart. And if you have an artist who's coming back next week, which there are a lot, so if you have an artist that you support, definitely download the app and check out the real-time album sales to support your favorite artists, and there are also a lot of fun events going on, including the voting on the app, so check that out as well. And also, please subscribe to the channel, WhosfanTV, and also like this video, as we will continue to report on the weekly charts and other ongoings on the K-pop world as usual. So that's everything that we have for this week. Thank you for watching, and this was your host, Joe. See you next week, everyone.